Right, here we are, that's Bob.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Bob. Right, today's another mammoth one. We're in this for a full 15 odd minutes. I just finished a surfing session. I got a new Decathlon soft top surfboard and gave it a little test run over by Double Moon Bay. It's great fun. The waves weren't at their best, but it was still a good workout, refreshing, fun times. And we gave these cows a little salute and got on our way. I pulled over at this nondescript crossroads where there was a nondescript hole-in-the-wall restaurant because I recognised it. It was the first place I ever came to when I went to Double Moon Bay. And we went through this gate just across the road from here, there you go. And that led us to the beach. There'll be a video on that somewhere or other. But we found this hole-in-the-wall little restaurant, and it doesn't look like much, but they'll give you some hot water for your instant Nescafe, which is nice. And they'll serve you up one of the best plates of fried noodles you've ever had, my Sam. So I chomped those down, took some calories on board so that I could be prepared for what was to come. Yeah, we were going exploring. We were actually looking for a turtle sanctuary. And I think this was a clue. A gigantic turtle that afforded me the opportunity to catch some tubular barrels, man.
I heard there's a turtle sanctuary around here somewhere. Wasn't sure how to find it, but I'm guessing it's that way up there.
Yeah, I used my genius to fathom the direction and eventually found my way to a car park, which looked like it probably was going to be the turtle sanctuary. So I parked up and had a look around. The numerous turtle statues signalled to me that I was probably in the right place. This handsome young chap was creeping out the egg, first thing a turtle ever does, of course, and this equally handsome young lady was telling me the prices. It's £3, about $5 to get in there, and if you're a diminutive child, you can get in for free. If you're a reasonable sized child, then you only have to pay half price. We followed the course of evolution in turtles and realised that perhaps they'd included King Koopa. There he is, look. And pretty sure I've seen this guy in Mario Kart dropping banana skins. This last guy, though, just looks like he's got a deep, dark secret to hide in his past. Anyway, they weren't letting people in that day for one reason or another, so I elected to get up to the lookout point instead. And this is where Bob enters the fray. This is the first time of many that Bob tries to convince me that I need to pay someone to give me a lift up to the lookout point. And I'd looked on the map, so I knew it wasn't that far, and I fancied a little hike, so I said no thanks. But this kindly rotund fellow did offer a couple of lifts, and they probably paid £1, maybe a $1.50 in American. And you can see it's popular. Almost everyone there is falling for the spiel and paying to get a lift up there and back. I'm a stoic, so I like to take the road that's
there are some
harder work.
huge chunks of quartz in this road. Makes me think if you were to stop and
That is a big piece of
spend some
quartz
time
indeed.
looking,
Regular
probably find
listeners
a lot of crystals.
to the channel will know that the Earth's crust is abundant with quartz. It's one of the most abundant substances in the Earth's crust.
Kind of hillside here where it's been scoured away, dug away. In this case, for a road.
Oh dear, David. I'm talking to the camera saying that this is some sort of great place to find crystals. I'm sure I'm going to say that this trough by the side of the road is a great place to find crystals. And then I'm going to find somewhere else and say that it's a great place to find crystals. Yeah, basically what happened is I found a bunch of crystals. And then for the next 3 months decided that I was some sort of crystal finding genius.
Natural running water.
Go on then, are you going to go home with a sack full of crystals today, David? Are you? Are you? No, didn't think so. That's a crystal, is it? Is it?
It's a shard
Oh dear.
crystal. More than a crystal.
Whatever, Dave. I do apologise, viewers, for some reason. Basically, there was a place that was under construction. They were building a bunch of villas, and I went up there exploring. And where they cut the road out, there was loads of crystals. I did find a bunch of very beautiful, clear crystals, you know, in the correct typical crystal shape. And for some reason that convinced me I was a genius. Idiot. That beach down there is the beach where the turtles nest. So it's a shame I couldn't go, but I really like that they do strictly control the access to the beach there. And yeah, I think if they can help the populations of turtles in the local area to grow, then I don't mind missing out on my visit to the Turtle Sanctuary today. And the hike was a pleasant enough little country road. Trees either side and the mist rolling in. It was a little bit eerie. It left me with an uncomfortable feeling in my stomach. Yes, good hello preparation there. And hello delivery was reasonable as well. And to replace that feeling in my stomach with something more pleasant, I elected to stop at these conveniently provided picnic tables and see what snacks I brought with me in my sack. I'm somebody who relies heavily on routine, and I eat at the same time every day. I do most of the things at the same time, and it's one of the reasons I think I like mini adventures, going off for a surf or a hike or a bike ride or something, just to break that, just to see a different side of things. And then when you're not relying heavily on routine, your autopilot isn't telling you where to eat and what to eat and when, then it becomes a choice when you take that time to sit down, or take that moment to enjoy a snack or a drink or whatever. And there's something really very pleasant about that. Like here, I'm just sitting at a little picnic table, but if you go camping, to sit inside a tent and eat is in some way fantastical. I don't know. It's different, isn't it? And it has an air of that about it. Anyway, I did have a snack and rest my weary bones for a minute or two until I was ready to keep moving again. And I left the mist and that eerie feeling behind me and went down into a slightly thicker jungle. There's a very interesting pair of trees there, and something about it just told me that these trees used to be one. They just looked that way anyway. They looked as if they perhaps used to be one tree, separated by a violent strike of lightning or something. These two mangrove trees growing a few yards apart in opposing directions. Here's Bob again, still trying to convince me to get a lift. It almost became hilarious how often he asked, so we just chuckled at each other every time he drove past. I said elected to put together this amazingly edited little section of the video here. Very masculine, especially the heart-shaped arms over the head. And, oh, we've got some visitors. Look, what's he going to say? Oh, he's asking for a picture. I told him he could have one if he climbed a tree, which he declined, and just continued to take pictures anyway. And several people in his group elected to take pictures as well. It's something I never quite get used to, but these guys were pleasant enough. But the driver who's coming wasn't too fussed with their antics and smashed straight through. Anyway, I finished my tree climbing and carried on up to what I hope was going to be a pretty impressive lookout point. Here's the sign that says you've arrived, a good couple of kilometres before you've actually arrived.
Okay, so observations so far
Piece to camera.
are it's a classic kind of deal. There's an observation deck which I haven't yet reached, and I'm sure it's, great. I'm sure the view is beautiful. I'm sure it's worth it. And the road I'm walking along is quite interesting. It's quite a nice little country lane.
Yeah, that tree was all right, wasn't it?
Through the forest. But they just restrict access 2-3 kilometres away.
Why do they do that?
So that some locals can charge you to take you on a scooter.
Yeah, you can't blame them too much, can you really?
It's not. It is a scam and it isn't a scam. It is worth it because the price is probably very cheap. Probably a couple of dollars, a pound in British currency. €1.
All right, calm down.
So it's probably quite cheap, and for a few kilometers to save you the hike is good. There's no views
To
along
save
this
you the
road,
hike if you're lazy
really,
and don't
and
want to
then
hike. But then why come here?
So I'm not sure what the justification is for restricting access so far away, other than to create the demand for a lift there.
Yeah, it's arbitrary, isn't it?
And it irks.
Yeah. I would say it's
It is
irksome. Jinx,
Looks
1,
like
2,
it's gonna be the
3.
lookout point. Just come across an
I
interesting
found
little
something.
note here on the floor.
Whoa, whoa, son. Come on, that's
What's
not
that all
audience
about?
appropriate. What are you up to? Get rid of that. Come on, let's get back to what we're here for. What are we all really here for? Is it for messages like that? Is it to gripe about rides and mopeds and restricted access? No. It's to see what we can of the world, to drink it in through our eyes, our nose, our mouth and our ears, and enjoy it as best we can. So, I waited for a parting of the people and hoped for a parting of the clouds, and I think I got a just reward. Have a look at that view, eh? Oh, you can tell why they call it Double Moon Bay, can't you? Even with the clouds and the mist, that's a pretty dramatic view, pretty impressive. I was glad that I came, and I think it made the little hike worth it. The mountains poking through there. Yeah, I might have to come back one day and see what it's like when there are less clouds, but the clouds kind of made it. And my guess is, the less clouds there are, the sunnier it is, the higher the visibility is, or perhaps I should say the further the visibility is. Here's old Bob. He wanted a moment for his WeChat. That's the popular social media here in China.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, so, yeah, the better the weather would be, I'm guessing there'd be more people. And as regular listeners to the channel will know, I'm not a huge fan of people. I think people squeeze lemons. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that ever happens. But I had a good time that day. I enjoyed it. And there wasn't much left to do except for pay for the parking and see if the trip home held any interests. And I saw a video a long time ago of some guy kind of dismissing QR codes and saying that they were laughable and a pointless waste of time. But I have to say, living here in southern China, indeed anywhere in China, QR codes are just incredibly convenient. I can't remember the last time I even saw any cash. Don't carry cash ever. I bought this drink, can of Red Bull with a QR code. I paid for the parking with a QR code. I rode around on a flat tyre for about an hour last time I was here, trying to find a bike shop. Yeah, that's right, and I paid to fix that flat tyre with a QR code. Paid for everything with my phone, and I've never had any money go missing out of my wallet on my phone. I never really had an issue with it. Even these cakes, look, you can buy. They've got a QR code next to each one. This was a coffee shop I'd seen a couple of times and fancied stopping at. Have a look at their intellectual property thinly skirting cake copies that they've got there. Old Popo Pig. I was a little bit concerned when in the bathroom I found a new friend, a little cockroach there. But here in southern China, cockroaches are abundant. It's that kind of climate. There's not much you can do about that. So I didn't worry about it too much. But when I got back to my seat, there was a bunch of flies everywhere. This is just the bravest one that didn't fly off when I tried to waft them away. And again, I didn't worry too much about that. But it was a bit much when I drank me cappuccino and it was full of sour, gone-off milk. Then I was desperately disappointed and left. I paid for my high-speed trip road. I paid to get on the high-speed road for my trip home with a QR code. Very convenient. Got to cross the big bay on the big bridge, and that is always a treat because the views are pretty spectacular. Why don't you get yourself off social media, switch the YouTube off and get yourself out and see some views for yourself? Perhaps tell me about it in the comments. Hey då!